Hello everybody. Today we will start our seventh E Tag on 14th of January 2021. Happy New Year for all of you. I wish it will be more perfect than the previous year. Our session today will be divided into two parts. The first part is concerning engaging with pronunciation, and the second part will be understanding thinking skills. Part A. Now, what are the outcomes, learning outcomes of the first part of our session today? We will speak about pronunciation and some phonetics problems which face you in your class. So by the end of this module, you will be able to first identify the individual sounds of English. So we'll watch a video in which you will be learned some individual sounds, and you can use it with your students in your class to give them some hints or examples of how to pronounce these sounds that are the most difficult for your learners to pronounce. Second, we will use a range of activities to give your learners practice in pronouncing problematic individual sounds. We'll have some activities today in part A and part B. I wish you will enjoy them. Third, use effective techniques to prevent poor pronunciation of individual sounds from developing. And that will be part of your next task for the next training. God will. Fourth, use effective techniques to correct mispronunciation of individual sounds. That will be the first part of our session. Now let's start with this video about English sounds. Let's watch it and then we will have a small discussion together.
Hi, I'm Yvette, a facilitator at the Rollins Center for Language and Literacy. You probably already know the English language has very distinct sounds, or phonemes, that we combine in different ways to make words. In this video, we are going to demonstrate how to pronounce each of the individual phonemes. Often, we accidentally add an extra or schwa sound to the end of consonants. If students hear this and imitate it, it may then be reflected in later reading and writing tasks. To prevent this, it is important to produce only the phoneme itself without any additional sounds. An example of this is the sound Sometimes when teachers are trying to emphasize or isolate a phoneme, they say p. Instead, focus on producing just the phoneme itself. We'll start with the consonant phonemes. You'll see the associated letter or letter combination, also known as a grapheme, on the screen as I say the sound. Ready? Here we go. B as in banana. D as in dinosaur. As in fish. G as in guitar. As in hand. As in jelly. As in car. As in leaf. As in Monday. Nail. As in end of the word sing. As in pumpkin. As in rain. As in sun. As in the middle of treasure. In turnip. As in volcano. As in watch. As in yo-yo. As in zip. Some graphemes, such as Q and X, are composed of two phonemes. For example, Q makes the sound, and X makes the sound. The next phonemes are considered to be digraphs, where two letters make one sound. Ch, as in child. Sh, as in shoes. As in the middle of mother. As in third. Make sure students hear you pronounce phonemes correctly. You're modeling the language that they need to independently decode and write words. Just like the consonants, the English language has a wide variety of vowel phonemes with their own distinct sounds. I'll model each sound, and the grapheme will be shown on the screen below. A, as in the first sound in apple. E, as in the first sound in elephant. I, as in the first sound in igloo. As in the first sound in octopus. As in the first sound in umbrella. A, as in the middle sound in rain. As in the final sound in saw. E, as in the final sound in tree. I, in the middle sound in light. O, as in the middle sound in boat. U, as in the first sound in uniform. Oo, as in the middle sound in mood. As in the middle sound in book. Ow, as in the final sound in cow. Oi, as in the final sound in boy. There are also R-controlled vowels, such as R, as in the final sound in car. As in the middle sounds in heard, bird, and served. Air, as in the final sound in chair. Ear, as in the final sound in spear. Or, as in the middle sound in fork. Sometimes, when a vowel sound is located in the unstressed syllable of a word, it becomes a schwa. An example of this is the that you hear as in the first sound of the word again. Make sure that your students hear you model the correct consonant and vowel phonemes. This will help them produce the correct sounds themselves, and in turn, guide them as they learn to read and write.
So she gave us some examples of single sounds and digraph or diphthongs. You can give your students this video. Here is the link of the video on the YouTube. You can use it and give them some more examples of how to pronounce difficult sounds. Now let's move to the next session. Here's a kind of difficult sounds. Working pairs, I want you to write down in the chat box or raise your hand to give us some hints about. Think about your learners, which English sounds do they find the most difficult. For example, they found that sha and cha difficult, sa and the, or some sounds else. You can write down the sounds on the chat box. I'll wait for your answers and take some samples of them. For each sound, write a word you know they found it difficult to say. I'm waiting for your answers in the chat box. Yes, Miss Noah Hussein, Shah and Cha, right? Miss Minnatullah Hassan. Like the words in bird, the sound of right? Someone else? Miss Noah Famva, Miss Yasmin Tunios, the sound like in the mother, three, Sanza, right? Minat Allah some the final in words, right? Like teacher and so on. Right now we'll move to the start with minimal pairs. Do you know about minimal pairs? We'll have a video related to this. Let's show it to you. This is from the British Council.
English lessons. Today's mini English lesson is about minimal pairs. What are minimal pairs? Minimal pairs are pair of words that vary by a single sound. They're very important for pronunciation. So, the first example we're going to look at is I. Altogether, I. Second sound, E. Now we notice on this sound that we have two dots. That means that the sound is longer. For example, sit on the seat. Sit on the seat. Now, if you get this wrong, it would sound seat on the seat. You get the nouns and the verbs mixed up. Nobody knows what's happening. Everybody's confused. Sit on the seat. Number two, and A, like Italian. A. So, A. For example, wait, it's wet. Again, you get this mixed up. Wet, it's wait, it's a lot of confusion. No. Third example, and or. For example, so you saw the film. Altogether, so you saw the film. If you get this wrong, so you saw the film, too much confusion. We have the first one, sit on the seat. Wait, it's wet, so you saw the film. These were three examples of minimal pairs. Enjoy and practice.
Right, this is minimal pair, so we'll give you some hints about it. It's two words that are similar in pronunciation, but except for one sound. You can use it, and we will have an activity related to it previously. Now here is the differentiation between the sounds and the sound there. Here is the link of the YouTube, and we will listen to the differentiation between them. And very simple and short video, you can use it with your students in your class.
Digraphs. This is your birthday. Happy birthday, okay. This is your birthday. Happy birthday, say. And him. E. Three.
La.
Mouth. This is your birthday. Happy birthday, okay. This is your birthday. Happy birthday, say. And babe. Sue. Breathe. Lay. This is your birthday. Happy birthday, okay. This is your birthday. Happy birthday, say. This is your birthday. Happy, happy birthday, okay. This is your birthday. Happy, happy birthday, say. And in 3, math, mouth, bathe, soothe, breathe, lay.
Okay, I have some ideas about the and the. Let's move to some activities. We will have three activities. First, you can apply these activities in your class with your students. The first activity is find your partner. Learners are given one word from a set of minimal pairs. Like you can distribute these words, a word for each student. For example, you can give them cat, mat, hat, bat, cat, fat. Those are minimal pairs for these sounds. Or you can give them words like man, can, tan, can, and so on. You can give them a third group like tin, pen, hen, when, then, or, boy, toy, joy. These are some minimal pairs. Give each student one word and ask him to memorize it and say it by himself. Ask him not to use the paper and telling his friend the word, he will say it orally. Then ask to find someone else in the classroom with the same word as the one they have. So you will ask them to move around the class and teach for someone who have the same sound like him, like this minimal pairs. They are only allowed to say the word, not to write it or to show it to each other. So they have to rely on the clear pronunciation. After that, we will ask each two students to stand together and to say the words, and we will give them some cheer or bravo or some kind of praise as they got the right minimal pair words. It's very easy and you can apply it on your lower level students like grades 1, 2, or 3. And another game, it's bingo. We have already spoken about it. Learners choose six words from a set of minimal pairs, like we have already said before, and play bingo games with them. They will write down these six words in six spaces in the table. They will draw on a paper and ask each other to say the word and the minimal pairs related to it, and so on. That's activities. The third activity you can apply to the class. We have already spoken about it in our previous training. It's tongue twister. In tongue twister, you gave your students some difficult words or statement to say. You give them the example to say the sentence in a slowly way and then in a fast way and ask them to repeat it. Here is learners make up tongue twisters using difficult individual sounds. Here is an example from British Council side. Listen to it. In this example, she will give us a tongue twister. She sells sea shells by the sea shore. You say it very slowly and then quickly, like this.
she sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells by the seashore.
I remember that Catherine tried to say this sentence in our first training face to face, and it was very fun. On the same site, you will find more examples of tongue twister. It gives the students some kind of funny and enjoyable moments during teaching or learning in the class. Here is your next task for the next training, God willing. This is the first task. Here is from Connect Primary 1. Look at the words below. He gives you some examples, some words, some single words. Do you think Arab learners could find any difficulty pronouncing any of them? You will give me the answer yes or no. I find it difficult for some Arab learners to pronounce some words. And they give me count about an example. Which two words are difficult for our students to say? The second thing, what pronunciation strategies would you use while teaching these sounds? You can use some songs from Google and some videos. And you can use some drones, realia, some games, some songs, whatever you wanted to use to deliver this single words to your students. I'm waiting for this. And now we'll move to the second part of our session. But first, we'll summarize some important definitions related to this. First, we have spoken about individual sounds. We said that these are the separate sounds of English that make up words. Second, we spoke about minimal pair. The minimal pair is a pair of words that almost sound the same, but one individual sound is very different. For example, play and play, cat and mat, man and tan, and so on. Third, we'll see something very important, International Phonetic Alphabet, IPA. The International Phonetic Alphabet is a way to transcribe sounds, to write the sounds of the words in some symbols to make it easy for the learner to say it correctly. It's usually used with languages that are spoken in a different way to their spelling, such as English. So I have got some silent letters, some letters which affect other in pronunciation and so on. For example, here is see how the IPA transcribe OUGH. And these words like throw, rough, though. So we have pronounced this OUGH in three different ways. The last definition or the last term we have already met in this session is tongue twister. A tongue twister is a phrase that is designed to be difficult to articulate properly, like she sells shells on the seashore. Now we'll move to the next part of our session. It's about understanding thinking skills. We have thinking skills and creative skills. How can thinking and creative skills in dealing with some difficult problems in our classrooms? So by the end of this module, you will be able to categorize thinking skills and select questions that could be used to promote them. We will have some words in which we will use in preparing our lesson plan. And according to Bloom's taxonomy, we'll know which words could be useful for our learners and what are the lower and the higher thinking skills we could use in each part of our lesson plan. Second aim of this part is apply thinking skills in a discussion about a problematic teaching situations. I will give you three activities you can use in your class. It's very amusing and I think you will like it. So let's start with Bloom's taxonomy. Here is 6 levels of thinking, lower thinking and higher thinking skills. Bloom divided this pyramid into 6 separate parts. First part, or lower thinking skills, the first skill is remembering. And this, the students will find or remember some information. Here we could use some words like list, find, name, and so on. We'll give you some examples in the previous slide. The second level, it's more difficult and higher than the first one, is understanding. In understanding and making sense of the information which the students have already obtained. In this, you could use some verbs like interpret, summarize, explain, and so on. The third level is applying. In this level, the students use information in a new but similar form. So we'll ask him to use diagram, make a chart, draw, and so on. Here is the lower thinking skills. What about the higher thinking skills? The arrangement of these 3 is varied, but this is the most common one. The fourth level is analyzing, to take information apart and explore the relationship between each other. This is, I think, suitable more for science and math. Here's categorize, examine, organize, compare, and contrast. I think it's more more perfectly for science and math. We'll run out of time after 10 minutes, so we'll have to hurry up. Yes. 5, creating or building. Sometimes we name it building. Using information to create something new. So here we'll use the word design, build, plan, contrast, and so on. Construct and so on. The last and higher level of thinking is evaluating. Here is critical examine information and make judgment. Here is the student can judge the information and give a kind of judge, critique, test, defend, and criticize. This is the highest level according to Bloom's taxonomy. Now we'll move to what verbs could be used in each level of this critical thinking. The first level, knowledge. You can use in your lesson plan words like fill in the blank or match. The exercise of match column A with column B is related to knowledge. The knowledge which the students have already obtained from the lesson. Spelling, understanding. All of these words can be used in the first level of critical thinking. The second level is comprehension, to understand. So you can use words like describe. Describe the picture, for example, paraphrase. To say the words, but in another word, like in poetry. To paraphrase some lines on poetry. Rewrite, translate. A translation is a kind of comprehension of what the students have already learned. The third is application, to apply what he has already learned. Find out, for example, to find out the old one out of this word. Let's give an example. Solve a problem. Here's an example. How is blah 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 is an example of and so on. This is applying the information that the students have already obtained on an example. These are the lower thinking skills. Now we'll move to the higher thinking skills, analyzing. Analyzing, separating a whole into components parts. So you can ask them to classify some words. This is perfect for science to classify some animals into predators and carnivores and so on, plant eaters and so on. All to classify some kinds of sets, illness, for example. contrast, distinguish, examine. Here is an example. What are the parts or features of and so on. Classify these words according to the part of speech. For example, I'll give them words like cat and car. These are nouns. Old and new. These are adjectives. Go and play, verbs, and ask them to classify these words according to the part of speech of each word. This is analyzing. The fifth level is synthesis or building, combining ideas to form a new whole. So here we ask the student to create, plan, produce, write. So for example, what would you predict from the situation you have already read about? What ideas can you add to? How would you create or design a new situation or a new scene related to, for example, A Tale of Two Cities? Can you create a new character and add it to this scene and so on? The last level is evaluation, developing opinions, judgments, or decisions. Here you have to include, decide, judge, rate. This is a higher level of thinking. Do you agree that there can, for example, the theme of fitting Mr. Murdstone's hands was correct or not? Explain, illustrate, state, demonstrate. We will ask him to judge the reaction of, for example, David's mother in this scene, and so on. This is the high level. Now we will have in a short time the activities related to this critical thinking. I want to answer the question in this brain teaser. Listen and try to answer it by yourself.
Here's a brain teaser. A rooster is on the roof of a barn facing east. The wind is blowing to the west at 10 miles per hour. The rooster lays an egg. Which direction does the egg roll? If you want, pause the video and think it over.
Have you found the answer? Here is the answer.
The answer? There is no egg. The rooster didn't lay one because roosters are male. Did you get it right? Let's pick this apart and see why many people have difficulty with this brain teaser and so many others. First, it's easy to overlook details or accept them without questioning. In this brain teaser, the answer could be found in the second word, rooster. In hindsight, we realize it's impossible for roosters to lay eggs, but it's easy to overlook when it's mentioned casually in the brain teaser. Another process at work in this brain teaser is misdirection. There were several details included that we may have paid too much attention to. The fact that the rooster was facing east and that the wind was blowing west at 10 miles per hour. In the end, these details had nothing to do with the actual answer, but because they seemed important in the context of the brain teaser, they directed us away from the relevant information. The same techniques used to solve brain teasers can also be applied to real-world situations. When you're trying to figure something out, it's important to analyze the information that's available to you. Are there any details I may be missing? Am I confused by something? Brain teasers not only help to keep your mind sharp, but they can help improve your critical skills as well. Let's finish things off with another brain teaser. You have a single match and are in a dark room with a candle, an oil lamp, and a gas stove. Which do you like first? The answer, the match.
Right, this is a kind of brain teaser or kind of motivating your students to start lesson. Here is another example. The teacher divided the students into two groups, girls and boys, and they stand on circles in front of each other. There is one empty circle, and he wants them to exchange their places and positions. See the video and we'll discuss it later.
وايه ده بقى؟
Here is the rule is not to push each other or to stand two on one circle. This is a kind of motivation. You motivate your students to make a kind of physical movements during the session or class. It's very interesting and give you some energy to start their lesson. Here is the last one, but we are out of time, so I will give you the link and you can watch it later. Here is the teacher wanted the students to put the balls on the other side of the sheet, but without touching the balls with their hands. They will they will think of how they could make it until they can make it. You can watch the video later because we are out of time. And here is the second task. It's from primary one discover. You want to match the numbers with the pictures in making a pencil in order using